Hello Bloomington, I'm Mayor Tim Bussey, and this is the Council Minute for the week of August 15th. Back in April, the City Council started discussions around charitable gambling in the City of Bloomington. And we continue that discussion on Monday night. First, some quick background. When we talk about charitable gambling, we're talking about bingo, raffles, paddle wheels, tip boards, or the one that everyone knows about, pull tabs. There are currently 12 organizations in Bloomington that hold a charitable gambling license, and they operate in 14 different locations across the city. To hold a license, an organization must be registered as a Minnesota nonprofit, have a minimum number of members, and can't be in existence solely for the purpose of conducting gambling. They need to be raising money for some specific purpose. The locations they operate in must hold an on-sale liquor license, be the license holder's place of regular meeting, or be a place of worship. In Minnesota, the licensing authority for charitable gambling is the Minnesota Gambling Control Board, and city regulations around charitable gambling can be more restrictive than state law. That includes things like an investigative fee or regulatory tax, the creation of a charitable gambling contribution fund, and regulations around a trade area. Our discussion on Monday night centered around those city regulations, specifically topics like where the money raised goes, where charitable gambling can take place, and the number of licenses an organization can hold. We wanted to make sure that charitable gambling was meeting the needs of all stakeholders in Bloomington, including the operators and the recipients. Prior to our meeting, city staff did a very nice job of reaching out to the current license holders to get their feedback, including through one-on-one conversations, a survey, and an informational meeting. The input from those organizations was very helpful. After a good discussion, the council asked staff to make 3 proposed changes to the city's charitable gambling ordinance and to bring those changes back before the council in a public hearing in the coming weeks. One was to increase the amount spent in the trade area. And here's what that means. A city can require licensed organizations to spend all or a portion of their expenditures within the city's trade area. And the trade area is defined as every city or township that is contiguous to or touching the city. So for Bloomington, the trade area includes Edina, Eden Prairie, Richfield, and then it jumps the river to Savage, Burnsville, and Eagan. According to current rules, 30% of any charitable gambling proceeds must be spent in that trade area. Staff looked at 13 Minnesota cities that are similar to Bloomington and learned that trade area requirements in those cities ranged anywhere from 30 to 100%, with the average being about 70%. The council was in agreement that Bloomington's current 30% requirement was too low. There was also agreement that number should probably be more than 50%, but rather than assigning an arbitrary number, we asked staff to do some research and bring forward a recommendation that was reasonable and logical. A second proposed change was about charitable gambling within the Mall of America. Charitable gambling is currently allowed within MOA, but current city regulations limit those licenses to locations on the 4th floor. Those regulations were put in place back in 1992 when the Upper East Side of the mall was a hotspot of bars and nightclubs. And staff found council minutes from that era that showed that people were worried about the mess from pull tabs and that minors might be in the vicinity of gambling. Back in May, Mall of America sent a letter asking the city to remove that limitation and allow charitable gambling in locations throughout the building. The council agreed that made sense. The final proposed change would increase the number of licenses an organization could hold in Bloomington. Currently, any organization is limited to 3 licenses in Bloomington. The council agreed that increasing that cap number would allow organizations to meet the potential new demand at MOA, but at the same time, it wouldn't completely remove the cap, so no single organization could develop a pull tab monopoly. The council said no to a couple of possible changes also. The first would have required licensed organizations to contribute up to 10% of net profits to a fund that the city would administer and regulate. No one was in favor of that one. The second would have implemented a residency requirement or required license holders to have a specific tie to Bloomington, like having their headquarters in the city or having a certain number of their members live or work in the city. Since 7 of 12 licensed organizations currently do headquarter in Bloomington, and 9 of the 14 licensed locations are run by Bloomington organizations, the council didn't think that was necessary. As I mentioned, staff will bring these proposed changes to the ordinance back to the City Council in the coming weeks. You can expect a public hearing later this fall, so we have things ready to go in 2023. As I'm sure you've heard, during the 2022 legislative session, state law was amended to allow the sale of certain edible and beverage products infused with THC. THC is derived from hemp, which is part of the cannabis family. It's not derived from marijuana. Marijuana sales are still not allowed in the state of Minnesota. But under the new state law, Minnesotans 21 or older can buy edibles and beverages containing up to 5 milligrams of THC per serving and 50 milligrams per package. THC products must be clearly labeled, sold only to those 21 or older, and be in child-proof and tamper-evident packages. They can't resemble cartoon characters or animals or be modeled after brands primarily consumed by children. And that's where the requirements around the new law pretty much stop. There are no restrictions stating where the THC edibles and beverages can be sold, and there's no limits on how much consumers can purchase. So the discussion around regulations has largely fallen to cities, and we had that discussion on Monday night. A couple of things to note. State statute doesn't require cities to license THC edible retailers. And state statute doesn't prohibit cities from regulating THC edible retailers. So our Bloomington staff, including police, public health, environmental health, planning, licensing, legal, and administration, they all put their heads together to come up with a plan. Ultimately, staff acknowledged, and on Monday night the council agreed, that because THC edibles are a new and evolving product, moving forward with a measured approach was our best option. Staff came forward with a recommendation to license edible THC retailers in a way that is similar to tobacco regulations. For example, edibles would need to be placed behind the counter of any retail shop. They simply couldn't be out on the shelves. There will need to be a permanent physical location for any sales. They wouldn't be sold in vending machines, and any kiosks would be closely regulated. And Bloomington will conduct compliance checks to prevent sales to minors. This measured approach and licensure will help Bloomington better understand the number and the location of retail establishments, will help us understand the potential impacts, and will provide the city with the opportunity to communicate with THC edible retailers as laws and restrictions change. It's also consistent with the approach that a majority of other Minnesota cities are taking right now. I'm personally in favor of a measured approach because I fully expect the legislature will take up this issue in the 2023 legislative session and will put some statewide structure around the sale of edibles. Next steps, staff will draft an ordinance amendment for council consideration, and there will be a public hearing on any proposed changes. We've also asked staff to do the necessary outreach to existing retailers and to continue monitoring state and federal regulations. Finally today, 2 quick notes on community-wide celebrations. First, thank you. Thank you to everyone who joined us on Saturday for Bloomington's 2nd annual Pride celebration. It was a lot of fun. The crowds were much bigger than last year, and it was outstanding to see so many people gathered together with the goal to keep blooming. I'm already looking forward to next year. And second, after a 2-year COVID-related hiatus, the Bloomington Heritage Days Parade is back. Mark your calendars for Saturday, September 17th. Once again, the parade route will be along 102nd Street, beginning at 3rd Avenue over to Harriet Avenue. Now, I know from past experience, the parade doesn't run itself. A lot of volunteers are needed to make it happen. If you really want to make this community celebration work, then we need everyone to get out and work. Go to bloomingtonheritagedays.org to learn how you can volunteer. That will do it for this week's Council Minute. Thank you very much for tuning in. Until next time, stay safe, Bloomington.